Hello friends, welcome back to my channel and thank you so much for watching. Today's video I'm going to be showing you how I made this Candyland / Candy Crush themed cake. I'd like to say a big thank you to Candy Crush Saga for sponsoring today's video. I think we've all played Candy Crush or at least heard of Candy Crush. It's a very popular game. And if you'd like to give it a go or you just want to revisit it, there is a link at the top of this video as well in the description box if you'd like to download it for free. Once you reach level 10, you will receive 50 free gold bars, which is a nice little bonus. So yeah, give it a try. I really like the game. I find it very relaxing. I highly recommend. To get me started, I already have a 8-inch cake, a 6-inch cake, and a 4-inch cake all covered and ready to go. If you need to see how to get to this point, I'll link those videos down below. I've cut out a circle of parchment that is the same size as the top of each cake, and I've just folded that into this little triangle so I can pinpoint exactly where the center is and mark that with my dowel. I've sharpened the tip of my dowel and I'm very gently going to hammer that through the center, and I want to make sure that goes all the way through the bottom, through the board. It helps if you have your cake sitting on like a bowl like I have here, so you can have it go all the way through and you're not going to hit your counter. Each of these cakes is already sitting on its own cake board. These larger ones here are just for extra support. Once I've got that dowel through, I'm going back in with a threaded rod that is the same size as the one I'm going to use for my main structure. It's nicely wrapped, and I'm going to very gently hammer that through. I just use the wooden dowel first because it kind of gives me a path already, so I'm not trying to hammer this blunt thing all the way through. The dowel just makes it a little bit easier. I've got my structure all set up. You guys have seen me do this many a time, but I will link that video below if you need to see how to get here. And now I'm going to wrap the whole thing in some tinfoil tape because even though I've sanitized all these pieces, you need to make them food safe, and the tinfoil tape does that. Once she was ready to go, I picked up my chilled cakes, chilled being the key word here. It just makes it a whole lot easier. And I'm gonna start threading them through, just very gently guiding them down. Once I had that first one on there, I needed to add some support for the tier to go on top. So I added some bubble straws and then a little smear of buttercream. Okay, so for my top tier, I've measured the exact length of it, and I'm gonna strip back the tinfoil tape to where I'm gonna be putting a nut, and this is going to support that top tier, and then I'm rewrapping everything before adding that on there. So now I'm going to make some of the pieces that I know need to set up a little bit longer than the rest. So I'm starting off with snakies of pink and white fondant that I've rolled out pretty long, and then I'm going to smush them together. I went to the craft store and got this tube stuff, so I'm going to wrap that around, keeping it at a slight angle. If you need a little bit of help with it sticking, you can just brush the tube with some shortening. When I was done, I just gave them a gentle roll and then trimmed off the top and the bottom so they were nice and flush and set those aside. Similar method for the lollipops, but I'm twisting those together and then rolling it out and wrapping it around in this swirly shape before popping in a lollipop stick. Moving back to my cake, I wanted to incorporate some of the background of the game. So I have this little cloud shape and then my airbrush machine. You could just paint this on if you wanted to. And I'm just going around and going over the very edge of that template I've made, and you can see it leaves this nice little impression. I did that all over my center tier, and then I just went over with a very light spray of the blue just to kind of like blow it out a little bit. For my ice cream cone, I used some scrap fondant that I have just for the base, and I'm shaping that around the metal part. This is gonna be like the gravity defying part, and you can shape whatever kind of cone you want. This was just the easiest for me, and I let that sit for a little while before I tried to add anything else, because if you don't, you might lose the shape if it starts to slip down. I've rolled out some ivory fondant, and then I'm using my impression mat. This is gonna give me that waffle cone effect, and I'm just very gently wrapping that around the cone, being careful not to press too hard because I don't want to lose the detail. For my bottom scoop, I'm using some purple fondant. I'm adding a snaky around the bottom and then a little mound on top of that, and grabbing my fondant tool and just zhuzhing the bottom bit, just swirling it around, stabbing it a little bit, just trying to create some ice cream texture. I did the exact same thing for my top scoop. I just used some green and then mixed in some chunks of dark chocolate. Very carefully, you don't want to overwork this, otherwise the chocolate will melt and your ice cream will look gross. With more of my waffle cone fondant, I cut out this curve shape for the door and then just marked it directly down the center. With a fluffy brush and some brown color dust, I'm going around each of those diamonds, just concentrating that color around the outer edge and buffing it out before going over each of those outer ridges and just cleaning them up to get more of that waffle cone look. Don't forget to do the ice cream cone too. So now I need to make some treats. Everything I made was just really simple shapes. I'm gonna have everything I used listed down below. And while you watch me make some of these, let me tell you a little bit more about Candy Crush. I'm not one to have a lot of games on my phone, and if you've been watching me for a while, then you know that I don't normally do sponsorships, but I actually do play Candy Crush because as an anxious person, I appreciate being able to sit down. The little puzzle game just keeps my brain focused and I don't think about anything else. It just allows me to zen out a little bit. Of course, it's just generally fun to play, but if you are like me and you are looking for something to use as a de-stressor, then again, I highly recommend. And thank you again to Candy Crush Saga for sponsoring this video. Don't forget to check out the links above and in the description box if you want to try it for yourself. So these are the main candies from the game. You will probably recognize them. I added stripes to some. I made some bigger ones and some smaller ones, all different sizes, so I had a variety. The game has some chocolatey looking mountains, so I slapped some on the middle tier as well, and then with the lighter brown, added the icing on the top. I just freehanded these designs. You can do whatever you want. I wanted to add a couple sprinkles as well. These just stuck to the fondant on their own, but if you need any help with anything adhering, you can add a little bit of water or a little bit of shortening. I cut out strips of red and white fondant and then just rounded out the end with my circle cutter, and I'm adding those all around the top of that bottom tier. To finish off the castle details, I cut out some small rectangles of white fondant just for the brick effect, and then added some little balls of pink fondant all around the outer edge of my door. Taking that same pink fondant, I cut out this icing shape and just very gently pressed that on the top so it was draping down the sides. I've brushed the sides of each of my pillars with a little bit of edible glue, and again, I'll have everything I've used down below. And then once that firmed up a bit, I added a long snaky of white fondant that I've coiled on the top of each one, and then just topped it with a little red ball. And now for my favorite detail, because I think it's just so stinking cute, I attached two little teeny tiny donuts for the door handles. I'm adding the rest of my candies on top of that red and white border. I almost forgot that I made these purple guys too. I'm just putting them wherever I see fit and attaching them with a little bit of water. I did the same thing for the top. I'm sticking my lollipops in, just being very careful. For anything I wanted to prop up, I just used a little piece of dried spaghetti to hold it in place. And yeah, just kind of put it wherever I thought it looked nice. I brushed the bottom edge of that top tier with more of my edible glue, and I'm just very gently pressing on some more sprinkles. And this was a final result, guys. I think this cake turned out so stinking cute. I really like the gravity defying effect. I think it looks super impressive, but it's not all that complicated once you break it down. So I hope you guys give it a go. Please tag me on Instagram if you do. I want to say a big thank you one more time to Candy Crush Saga. And guys, don't forget to check out the links in the description box if you'd like to download the game and just have a good time. Thank you so much for watching, and I will see you in the next one.